Where's the music? Cue the music. Alright, so as the CEO of underrated YouTuber, according to this guy, it's me, Chris Uno. And before we begin this episode, I just gotta give a shout out to these people for sharing my video on Facebook. So just check it out. So if you want a shout out in a future video, all you gotta do is the same thing those people did and just share this on any kind of social media platform and I will add you in a shout out in a future video. But now for the important stuff, what you guys came for, episode 5 of this electric dirt bike build that we got going on here. And in this episode, I wanna build the motor mount and jack shaft mount. It's basically the same mount, but I want to get the motor and jack shaft on the frame. And here's how we left off in the last episode. Here's a scaled representation of the motor and the jack shaft. So here's what I'm thinking. We got the 3 batteries up here. We got the motor, we got the jack shaft. We're going to need to fit 3 more batteries, and here's how I'm thinking. So we kind of have something that would look like that. If you get what I'm talking about, you would kind of see it, but that's not going to happen until next week's episode. Alright, so basically the game plan here is to make 2 of these plates, which are going to be our motor mounts. And I'm going to basically sandwich the motor between the 2 plates. So there's going to be a plate over here and a plate on that side of the frame. The motor is going to go between the 2 plates in this area, and I'm going to put 2 of these flush mount pillow block bearings on the inside of here to support our jack shaft, which is going to run through the bike through there. So I'm going to make 2 of these out of aluminum. So to build this, we're going to need the stencil, a Sharpie, but first, before anything else, we're going to need some music. So alright, now we're cooking. And to cut it, believe it or not, we're going to use a regular jigsaw. And we're here, the official start of season 2 of this channel. Now, if you thought I was just gonna ignore the fact that I went missing for 8 months, well, you were wrong. I just wanted to wait 3 minutes into this video before I brought it up. Also, that last 3 minutes that you just watched, I recorded around the 8-month mark ago. 8-month mark ago. Good word, Chris. So I had to shove it in this video somehow, and that was the perfect spot. So what's new? What's up, guys? Other than we left off with 1,000 subscribers, now we got something like 4,000, and the hundreds of messages asking if I was alive and okay. I appreciate them. I'm alive, I'm okay, and we're starting season 2. And hopefully I won't do this gap again. Who am I kidding? I might end up doing it again. But let me show you guys what's new, especially with the bike. Absolutely nothing. So I left the bike exactly how we left off. We got the batteries underneath the gas tank, and I also made these motor mount plates. That's what you saw in the beginning of this video. I made one out of aluminum and one out of plastic. I just wanted to experiment with different materials, so we're gonna do 1 and 1 on this bike. But other than this build we got going on that's new, I did get something else that's pretty cool, and I'll just show you guys real quick. I somehow managed to get a 0MX electric dirt bike. So if this thing interests you and you want to see more stuff on this, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, give it a thumbs up, let me know in the comments. We got a 0, so we're gonna probably modify this thing and make it crazy. But back to the other bike build we got going on. So now that we got the motor mounts, I'm gonna mount that like that. We're gonna drill some holes and we're gonna mock up the electric motor into the frame. So here's the motor in the frame. All looks good, but I kind of foresee a problem we're gonna run into, and I kind of want to take care of it now before we continue building, because you know, like, most people design things, draw it, have a good concept down, then build it. That's not really how we work on this channel. I kind of just start building things and deal with the problems as they come along. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I don't know. But here's one of the problems that we're going to have to fix while we go along. Let me bring you a little closer. So, here's the motor. The jack shaft, that's going to be the bearing. It's going to be on the inside of the plate, actually. And it's going to run through the bike to the other side. We're going to have a drive sprocket on the motor. And this is going to be our input sprocket for the jack shaft. The problem lies within, say we put a chain around the motor and around the jack shaft. The chances of me getting this to the point where that's gonna be nice and tensioned like that is probably gonna be slim to none. Also, I could get it to work, but then as the chain starts to wear, it's gonna start to get slack in it and cause all different issues. So we're going to need a way to adjust this system. And how I think I'm going to overcome this problem is by separating the plate with a much straighter line right down the middle. And then I'm going to create another support bracket system down here, kind of like this one. And then I'm going to make slots in it. So you kind of get what I'm saying? This plate is going to be adjustable back and forth, while the jack shaft mount is going to stay stationary. So the motor is going to be able to slide forwards and back, so I can adjust the chain tension going from here to the jack shaft. I know that was a tongue twister and a lot, but we're going to take care of all this now before I continue with this build. But first, let me show you something on the other side of the bike. You remember that white piece of plastic? Originally, what I was thinking is putting the white piece of plastic kind of like that, and then I was going to put a metal plate over here to hold the bearing for the jack shaft on this side of the bike. Now, this is not serving really any purpose as far as supporting the motor. It's more of just girdling it, but I butched up the cut pretty bad and my measurements are all wrong, so we're going to do away with that. I am going to put the metal plate over here to hold the jack shaft bearings, but we're going to have to come up with something to hold this side of the motor just to give it support, even though I think this one plate on this side is good enough. But let's take care of the other side and making it adjustable before we continue anything else on this. Alright, so here's the final plate. I ended up doing this little kicker cut over here just for style points. There's no real reason to it. But here are my slots for the adjustment. I figured why not make the slots about the width of a link on the chain. This way I figured it's about a chain's width of adjustment, a chain's length of adjustment, I should say. That's just the thought process in my head. I don't know if that's like the way of doing it or not. But we can give this whole system a little dry run so you guys get an idea of what I just did. So we got like all the way over there, all the way to there. So that's going to be our adjustment for the chain tension. Now here's a little pro tip for you guys doing this stuff at home. When you're making your motor mount brackets, try to keep them parallel to each other. You see how this one's like in an angle, this one's straight. It makes it very difficult to make these holes to work in a sliding motion when they're at two different angles. So just something to think about. I managed to make it work. I'm not too sure how, but it works. I also drilled the holes for the pillow block bearing so we can mount the bearing back here. We can also technically mount the motor, and we can mount the plate to the frame. And I guess we can even throw the jack shaft through here and put the sprockets and the chain on here. All I have to do is make one more of these plates, which should look something like this for the other side. So that's going to go on that side to hold the pillow block bearing. I'll bring you guys a little closer to see. We got the one on this side, and the other one's going to go on this side. I still got to make some mounting locations for it, but for now I have one mount at least. So let's stop the talking and just mount the motor to the frame and the pillow block bearings to give the whole thing a dry run before I permanently weld all this stuff. Let's do it! Getting there. I'm not cutting the chains yet because I'm not 100% sure where everything is going to end up, nor do I know what sprockets I'm going to use, so just mocking it up. But we got the output. Oh, I also got to cut the jack shaft. We got the output driving the back wheel on this side. Everything is clear of itself. And on this side of the bike, we got the motor driving the input, which then puts the power to the other side to drive the back wheel. I'll bring you guys a little closer to show you the slack. See that? And then we move the motor out like so. I'm going to have to tighten it, but it takes the slack out of the chain. So slacked, not slacked. I know this video is getting a little long, this is kind of all I wanted to get done in this episode 5 that you guys just watched. But before we go, I do want to show you something else that I changed my mind on. We left off on episode 4 with thinking about putting the batteries up here. But since we did all this other modification, we're not going to be able to put the batteries up here. But instead, what's going to happen, I think, is I'm going to end up putting the speed controller right there. Now you're probably thinking, where am I going to put the other 3 batteries? Let me show you. My thoughts were maybe, possibly, we'll put one over here where the exhaust used to go. I'm going to put another back here and try to put another on this side. But I'm not 100% sure yet, because we also still got to fit a radiator in this whole system. So we definitely got a lot more work to do, but it is coming along, and we're back at making videos. So definitely stick around. If you like what you saw, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, tell a friend, post this on Facebook if you want a shout out, or any social media platform if you want a shout out in the next video. And guys, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, this is a long video, we got a lot done. I think I'm ready to call it a day, so I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching. Sorry that I took 8 months off, but you just gotta do it sometimes. So I'll see you guys, have a good one.